Welcome.
Thanks. The other bakers is interesting because we're all trying to compete to be the best baker. Naturally, you will have a bit of conflict.
What do you think it's going to be?
I wouldn't be surprised if I was like in my 50s.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if I was pretty young as well.
Sandro, your result is...
That makes sense.
Hello and welcome to What's My Age Again. I'm Catherine Ryan and this is the podcast that asks, how old are you? How old is your lovely body? And what do you do to feel young? Today we are joined by the gorgeous celebrity cake maker, Sandro Farmhouse. In 2022, Sandro won over the nation in the Great British Bake Off with his superb baking skills and his charm. And since making the final, he and his cakes have been in demand. He's made showstoppers for Stormzy, Little Mix, and even for me. But it's not just butter icing and sprinkles. Sandro has not forgotten his roots and works with charities who support young people with autism and special needs. He's 34 years old and he looks great. But how is he aging on the inside? We'll find out with Dr. Nicola Conlon later on the show. Welcome.
Thanks.
Sandro. Do I say your name correctly in my accent?
Yeah.
How do you say it?
Sandro.
Yeah, Sandro, but I want to say Sandro more than I want to say Sandro.
Sandro. I mean, a lot of people have like, if you have a Hispanic background, you say Sandro.
That's
like,
why I say Sandro,
Sandro,
because of
yeah.
my allegiance to Cardi B.
There you go.
Yeah. I feel like you and I have crossed paths so much in
Yeah.
the last few years. And I'm excited to have you on the podcast today because you're not like many of our guests.
Okay.
You're very young, very creatively talented. You're, of course, a celebrity baker. And so one would think that that is very stress-free vibes.
Yeah.
But then being a business owner and a public figure and doing all the charity work that you do,
Mhm.
and we'll get into your background, stressful.
Very much so, yeah.
So are you worried about receiving your biological age results today?
I'm not too worried. I've lived a life. I've had
Have
some
you?
fun.
Okay.
I'll keep myself fairly healthy, so we'll see.
How young do you feel?
Oh, how young do I feel? Oh, I feel like I'm definitely an old soul.
Okay.
So I might be in my 50s.
Really? In terms of what? Like music that you listen to?
Yeah, I like to stay home a lot. I like to be in my own space and kind of boring in a sense.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like
But-
I've lived a long life beforehand. My teens was very full. So
But you have energy. You
Yeah.
could like live it up. Do you party?
yeah, I party here and there. I can party. And if I party, I really party.
What does that mean?
Oh,
Like days,
that means, yeah,
festivals,
full
raves?
weekends, like a blur of a
Okay.
party. Don't even know what happened.
Well, that's very young.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get in straight away to how we know you best. And that
Okay.
is as a breakout bake-off star.
Mm.
How did you get into baking? What age did that?
Baking really started when I was like 17. Well, actually, it really started when I was really young. My mum was always baking like simple cakes, and I would always want to just lick the spoon or the mixing spatula, or whatever.
Yeah.
So I always had smells of like bakes that were growing up. And then 17, I dabbled a little bit in it. And then my dad died.
Mhm.
I bought a bottle of vodka and I decorated my first cake. And it was dry as hell. It was like completely dry, disgusting. Everyone loved it at work, which was, I guess they were just being extra kind because my dad just died. You can't really say the cake is bad.
Oh.
But
Maybe it was because of the vodka. Dry because of the vodka.
yeah.
They loved it because of the vodka.
well, the vodka wasn't in it.
No. So
The vodka
you,
was in me. But
as like a grief response,
yeah.
as a 17-year-old boy,
No, 21 at
21,
this point.
it's
Yeah.
still very young to lose your dad.
Yeah.
Did you lose him suddenly?
Yeah, I didn't actually know him. So I was going to meet him a month after. So I was going to meet him in like December. He died in November.
Okay.
So that was like a big like, what a disappointment. And yeah, I just got into cake bakery. And so
And you got a bottle of vodka and you said, I'm going to drink this. I'm going
Yeah.
to bake that.
I'm going to bake that. And at least he left me with something. He left the world. He's like, oh, here's a talent. You can just grow from that. I think it was just something that's always been in me. I've always been artistic. I used to draw like wedding dresses. So at first I wanted to like be a wedding dress designer.
Uh-huh.
And then I used to start drawing like, it's always was female clothing I used to draw. Because I mean, male clothing is kind of boring, right? And And then I just got into art. That's the only GCSE that I got as well. I got an A in art, and everything else was like trash to me, so I didn't even bother with it. And yeah, I think the cake was just the next level of my artistry. And now I'm getting into tattooing, so it's
Oh my
it's a bit like
gosh.
different.
But I think what's very unique to baking that cooking doesn't have is you do need chemistry and science and precision and almost math. Like your cakes that I've seen are very architecturally involved.
Yeah.
So it's surprising to me that you weren't interested in those other subjects because you are making sculptures and structures.
I mean, if school was like, oh, like, it's this and this and this to make a cake
Yeah.
in science, that would be great. But we had to like dissect frogs and stuff like that. It's a bit of a bore.
Well, if anyone requests an anatomically correct frog cake,
yeah, exactly.
you might remember where the kidneys are.
I can do it. I'm sure I can do it.
And I know that you're involved with loads of charity work specifically related to autism. Is that because you have experience with neurodiversity?
So yeah, my first job, I blagged my way into working at a college where I was like a support worker working with children with neurodiverse needs. And then as I've got older, I've realized that I'm also neurodivergent as well. Not diagnosed, because I just think diagnosed for people that really need to be diagnosed. There's no point in me wasting like resources when I can just figure it out. So I've sort of figured out that I am a little bit on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a superpower. So I kind of want to embrace it and embrace other people's superpower.
I love the way that we look at that whole world now, because it would have been very different. Your experience of school was the other subjects were trash to me. I didn't like them. I only got a GCSE in art. And wouldn't it be different if you were going to school now when we have such not only an understanding, but an acceptance of neurodiversity, where we go, oh, these creative kids, if you just teach them in a different way.
I think so. I always say to parents as well, nurture that one thing that your kid really likes, because that could be the one thing that they become.
Yeah.
And they're really good at. And you only need to be really good at one thing, right? You don't need to be great at everything. And not everyone's going to be a scientist, a mathematician, or whatever school teaches you to be. And I think it's just the wrong way to educate. So in my journey of what I'm doing, I kind of want to get into that, go into like education and try and help shift the system a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're really good with kids. And I know you were a nanny as well.
A manny.
Manny. I love the word manny. So kids are really important to you.
Yeah.
Do you think that you're getting to the age where you might have kids?
No.
You don't want them?
Oh, no.
I
just don't. I want to be able to give them back.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I've dabbled in this topic because I am married as well. And like my partner wants to have kids. And I'm just like, I want to like, I feel like I still haven't lived fully my life. And I want to continue to like grow as a person, see what that journey takes me. I mean, going into TV and then being part of this world now, it's like a completely different thing to what I lived. So I feel like I'm back at being a child almost and growing up in a different way.
Yeah.
Learning so many different things about myself. And I don't think I'll be good for kids, like having them.
But we live a long time now, presumably, and that is a column in the youth. That's a point in the youth column for you, I think, because you feel like an old soul in some respects. You're in the kitchen, you're at home, you're listening to music, you're baking, but you can also party. I think if you're not in the realm of having kids with your husband, then like it could change in 10 years. It could change in 20 years.
Commitment to another few things.
I know.
It's a lot.
So you see this TV career that has just blown up for you. Like you're a breakout star of Bake Off. You have a lot of places that you still want to go then, presumably.
Absolutely, yeah.
This level of fame is not enough.
I would say it's not the fame because
career success,
yeah. I don't think I've hit my peak at all. I think there's so much more that I can do, so much more I can give.
Because I see you everywhere. Like, what are some of your most standout cakes that you're really proud of?
Standout cakes?
Or like jobs or like high profile bakes that you've done?
I don't know if I've done any high profile. I can't remember if I've done any high profile.
I see them all on Instagram.
I mean, they're great. Like, I just think once I make a cake, I'm just like ready to make the next one.
You're on to the next.
Yeah, I'm on to the next one. Like, I've got so much I'm so visual. So like I'm already thinking of my next few months, and I'm like, those cakes would be greater than these ones.
Okay.
But I'm pretty proud of anything I paint on,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. It's a new little skill that I unlocked, and I feel like, okay, I'm getting really good at it. So,
And I think when creative people move in the direction of what they love, then success follows.
yeah, it can take time.
And I like that that's always unfolding for you. So you're thinking maybe tattoos.
Tattoos, because I love tattoos. I love
Mhm.
being tatted up, and I want to open up a bakery tattoo shop.
That's cool.
So I just thought, yeah, because it's kind of two different worlds in one.
Possibly a health and safety nightmare.
Possibly, yeah. We'll see what they say about that.
What was the journey from doing nannying and charity work to all of a sudden being catapulted into BBC fame? And like I would say Bake Off fame is a different kind of fame than being on regular TV. Like I do comedy, I'm on shows sometimes, but there are a few shows in this country where if the public get to know you, then they really feel like you're involved
Yeah,
in your
they
life.
have loyal fans.
Yeah.
But then it's problematic as well because they're
Okay.
fans of the show. So they're loyal to the show. Productions are amazing.
Yeah.
Judges are amazing. Would never say a bad word. No, but honestly, productions is amazing. Like I loved working with those producers. The other bakers is interesting because we're all trying to compete to be the best baker, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, you will have a bit of conflict.
Do you think that that is maybe sanitized for television as like, we're at home, we have aprons, but at the heart of it, it is a really competitive, creative industry.
It is super competitive.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot of people's passions. Like for me, I've been baking since I was like, again, 17. And then, you've got this baker that's been baking since there was a pandemic. And I'm like, you shouldn't even be here. That's not fair. Like, take 10 years.
So the bitch is you.
Kind of.
Like, you can be quite bitchy with the other bakers.
No, it's actually, no, I went in really, really like innocently thinking, oh my God, this is so amazing. But I think when you get a level of success, because it's not a show that it's not like Love Island,
It's not
where everyone
guaranteed.
gets, some sort of stardom or whatever. And it's not every season either. It's like every few seasons, someone really breaks out from it.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I was a breakout from my season.
And would there be drama like during the production?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
The what? That you were being shown favoritism?
No.
That you were cheating?
Oh yeah, I got told that I was hired. There was a rumor that I was hired for the show but I'm like, I didn't even get a handshake. If I was hired, I would have got a handshake. I would have won more like shorter, smaller parts of the show.
I see. So there are conspiracy theories within Bake Off where because you're very good looking, and you're very young, and you have an interesting story.
I think it was the confidence as well.
Okay.
But the confidence, what people don't realize is it's kind of like a confidence can be that you're confident, or it can be a facade almost. Like I'm going to pretend I'm confident so I can be confident. And a lot of people don't see that. So when I used to get this feedback after bake-offs, whatever, people would be like, oh, in the community, or maybe he was hired for the show, or all of these weird conspiracy theories. I'm like, if you ever saw me baking from when I was young, carrying Asda bags because I was so broke, like I'm literally making cakes to be able to pay my gas, electricity, or whatever. So I'll be holding like loads of Asda bags, one on each hand, my backpack, and just literally breaking my bones. I'm like, no, I've sacrificed so much to be able to get to this place. So if they ever knew, then they wouldn't be saying that.
But I think you're absolutely right, is to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And when you get there and you're in that tent and it's Mary Berry and it's Paul Hollywood and you're in that moment, I think the best thing that you can do is have that veneer.
It is a job at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're not there to really be your friends. Like Noel was amazing. Nolan and Matt Lucas was like, because that's who was on my season, they were like super in with you. I got close to Prue in a way. Like I would always fix her fashion stuff.
Yeah.
Fix her hair. Her hair will be out of place. And I'm like, oh, wait, we can't record yet. I need to. And then at the end, me and Paul kind of grew a good relationship. He said some nice words to me in my ear. talking about my career and how far he can see me going,
Yeah.
which was really like empowering to me because that's like someone I've always thought, you're amazing.
So what were the early baking jobs then when you were building yourself as a baker, as a creative person, you were carrying the shopping bags, trying to make the electricity bill. How did you build that business?
Just like every other home baker, just literally word of mouth. And then I started baking for like celebrities. I started baking for like Little Mix and Stormzy and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Then Maya Jama dropped a cake, which made me go viral, which was amazing.
This is pre-Bake Off?
Pre-Bake Off, yeah.
Well, tell me about Maya Jama dropping a cake.
So I made a cake for Stormzy. I took it to his house. I was like, Maya, let's put the cake here. So he's just there. And she's like, no, I want to take it to him. And she's like, I don't know if she was tipsy or whatever, but she's kind of like wobbling with the cake and stuff
Wavy.
like that. Yeah, and the cake just fell. But apparently everyone took a spoonful, which was nice to hear.
Were there photos of the cake before it fell?
Yeah.
Was the fall captured on social media?
Yes.
Oh, great.
It's like everywhere. You can still see it.
I had never seen that. So you present the cake to Stormzy. What did it look like?
It had like his Murky logo and it had like the earth, like a globe. And it was like a really tall cake, one of my tallest cakes I used to do in that time. And I probably didn't structure it as best as I should have.
I don't think you're meant to structure your cakes to be dropped on the floor by Maya Jama.
Right, exactly.
I think the cake saw Maya Jama and was
I saw her recently at a Pilates and she said, I've not forgot about the cake I dropped. No. I'm like, I wasn't going to bring it up, but okay.
I would have cried if I did that to you. But it ended up being a happy accident.
Yeah. He saw it before, or he saw pictures of it, so it's fine.
Yeah. I'm going to look up that video. I can't believe I didn't know that. So then because this is interesting. I don't think everybody knows this about building a business, especially there might be home bakers who, you don't always get a creative person who knows how to parlay that into success, who knows how to get themselves on a show like Bake Off, who knows how to get themselves a contract to make Stormzy's birthday cake. That just, not everybody has that. So it was just word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
East London,
yeah. But you just got to trust in yourself.
And people just would know about you and be like, this guy Sandro made me
I would message people. I would message people. I'd message like his management team, or I would know people that danced in with like the Little Mix group, and I would message them saying, "Hey, like, can I make a cake for Little Mix?" And
great.
One of my cakes went on stage and stuff.
How early were you building your social media following?
Pretty early, before social media was a thing.
So that's genius.
Yeah, so I had like 15, 20K at least just on my own little bakery. But then to get on the show, so I applied for Bake Off. I didn't get in the first time I applied, which is a bit weird because when people used to tell me, "Oh, apply for Bake Off," I'm like, "Yeah, I did," and I didn't get in. I had this whole like lie because I was just so tired of people asking me to go on Bake Off, right? But I kind of manifested that, so I did exactly what I said the lie was. That actually happened to me. Went on the show, went on the audition, didn't get in, and I was thinking, why didn't I get in? That's so weird. And so I unfollowed I've removed everyone from my Instagram because I thought maybe it's because like I look like I'm established.
You like purged all your followers?
Everyone, literally.
How do you get rid of all your followers?
I should just deleted the page if I'm looking back at it now. But
how long? What?
I literally spend every day on removing 100 people a day, like a weirdo. Instead of just like.
So you'd have to block them?
No, just remove them.
Remove. You cannot follow me. I actually like that. It's a very soft sell. Yeah. You can't see my cakes and you can't see my cakes. You cannot enjoy the cakes. No cake content for you.
But I literally done everybody. Yeah. Which is, I should have just started Instagram. That is so strange when I look back at it now. But
I like it. No, because you still want the work to be ever present. That is your business page.
Right.
You just don't want the following.
Exactly.
Okay, so you manually removed 25,000 people. All right.
And I wonder what that is then. How many days I spent doing that? If it's 100 people per day. It
was the pandemic,
That's interesting.
I think you're selling yourself short for how smart this was. Were you verified? No, but you
was that a thing?
I don't remember, but you had thousands of followers and you thought, like, you are a very canny business person. You thought, I've worked so hard to establish myself on socials. That might make me look like a plant on Bake Off, even though I'm not. I've just organically, these people want to see Maya Jama, presumably in a shapely dress.
It came out.
dropping my cake.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm going to delete them, start fresh so that I can make it on the show. That is really clever.
I mean, I think it's unfair because you could be great at making cakes, but then there's bread, there's biscuit. I mean, if you ever saw the show, I kind of failed a lot, right? So it's like I was just good at making cakes, and even the cakes I made, the first episode was not even to par.
Do you think the challenges are purposely too difficult to complete in the time allotted?
I think my season was very difficult, and I think they simplified it since, which is it's totally unfair. I mean, just make it harder every year. Don't make it more simple. But they had so much feedback that I don't think the viewers really, it made sense for the viewers. Like we had Mexico week on my season, and I got told I was like a racist because I made like a cake with a moustache, like a Mexican moustache.
Okay.
But I didn't have time to finish the cake because had I finished it, it would have been a Mexican man with a hat and a sombrero.
Right. And that would have been what, more or less racist?
And I guess, I don't know, because when you go on Google and you write like Mexican themed stuff, like party wear would always have like a moustache.
Yeah.
So if I'd gone in it now, I would have drawn or painted, what is her name?
Selena?
That's a good one, actually. But I would have painted Frida Kahlo.
Frida Kahlo.
I would have painted Frida Kahlo. I would have made some really cute flowers and stuff. And
well, she had a mustache, so maybe you were.
Well, she had a mustache on her eyebrow. Oh, wait, did she have a mustache? She had a little bit of hair. She had whiskers.
Who doesn't?
Right.
I think they're setting you up for failure, making
a Mexican themed
Hispanic themed. There you go.
And then my competitor made a cake with sweet corn. I'm like, what is that?
Oh, they do like street corn, yeah.
Yeah, but
it's not like you did a bunch of like amateur builders waiting outside a Home Depot to do cash in hand renovations.
Right. That is funny.
That's what I would make. Okay. Let's speak about your heritage, actually, because I did not realize that you came here on like quite difficult circumstances from Angola.
Luckily, I don't remember it too much, which is great.
Interestingly, Sandro, when we look at biological age, and Dr. Nicola Conlon can explain more about this down the road, you have a cellular age that is impacted by all kinds of different stresses in your life, your gut microbiome, your state of mind. And even if you don't remember a traumatic experience as a baby, it could live in your ancestral DNA. You could have felt it as a baby. If your mother was stressed when you were a baby, that could all impact you today.
I think my mum done a great job in making us not worry too much about those things.
So what happened?
I think from what the story is that, there was, war broke out in Angola and she kind of just fled. She's like, she went to Brazil with me at first. Then my sister was in the UK with her father. And so she came to the UK to be with my sister and myself so we can all be united. Could have stayed in Brazil.
You would have liked to
I
stay
don't
in
know.
Brazil.
I think I would have been like in a gang if I stayed in Brazil.
Really?
I would have been like, yeah.
You've gone full villain.
I think so. Okay. I think I like the look of that.
You could be in a gang here. I read about them.
It's not the same.
No.
It's
not as fun.
It doesn't have that exoticness.
Okay, your mother moved from Angola. There was war in Central Africa.
There was war.
You went to Brazil.
She came to the UK. I just thought life is great. I didn't really think of anything when I was that young. I think she'd just done a great job at.
What age were you when you left Angola?
2.
2?
2 years old.
You would have been like a lot of your formative core attachment styles and like your peace would have been developed in the first 2 years of your life. And you were living in a war.
Yeah, I definitely think it has an impact now.
In what way?
I just feel like there's something I need to close.
Okay.
Like go to Angola and see where I've come from and close that chapter in my life as well, in a way, like in just like in learning a little bit more about exactly where I was, when I was young. So.
But your mother shielded you from all of
everything,
that.
Yeah.
Does she speak about what her experience was before
My sister speaks about it a lot. So I know more about it because of my sister and how she experienced it, and she kind of remembers a lot of it because she's 4 years older than me.
Oh.
But then I just think, how can you remember? I don't really remember things under 12 anyway, which is a bit strange.
Prince Harry says that about the time before his mother died. And sometimes that is a trauma thing as well.
Yeah.
Where you just lock it away and your brain's main job is to protect you. So if something happened that was really traumatic, some people can remember it. Some people switch off and they don't.
I remember like little things. I remember us eating we used to have like butter containers.
Yeah.
And we'll eat from that because we wouldn't have plates.
Oh.
Which was yeah, which is I remember those things. But no, I never thought it's like, I guess if you grew up in that way, you never think anything about it. I didn't think, as a child, I was poor. I just thought, okay, we're eating a butter container. It's like, totally normal. It's not normal.
Some people might still do that in East London.
Maybe.
But you were protected. You had these women in your life, your older sister and your mom, who took on, whatever they speak about taking on now. And you remember your childhood, cognitively anyway, in your consciousness, as having been really happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Really at peace, really kind of just like, I've always been a child that's just preferred his own space and explored in really weird ways.
But I wonder even if that was a self-preservation tool.
Probably, because that's what I do now.
Yeah.
So, as if I get into a bad space, I'd prefer to just take my own space. Some people will go out and have a party or have a drink or whatever. And me, I'm just like, turn off completely. I need to be on my own.
Have you explored trauma like that? Do you think you might have any hidden stuff that comes out in tiny childhood memories?
I think more adolescent memories.
Okay.
I think there was so much love when I was young, as a child. Even Christmas used to be such a big thing because it wasn't just my mum in the UK. It was like my grandparents were here.
Good.
There was like, we had a whole lot of family here. So I spent a lot of time with my cousins, my siblings and stuff. And it was just a really good time all the time. So I don't know if I have any challenging memories. I mean, I remember my grandma left me on a bus once.
Yeah, that'll be one.
I don't think I was traumatized. I think I was quite at peace. I was left alone for once. So that was nice.
Do you remember what bus it was?
No, I think it was in South London somewhere. Which is interesting because I don't really like South.
There are some nice buses. You don't want to be left alone.
It was a double decker.
Oh, nice.
Definitely upstairs.
You were upstairs?
Yeah.
I mean, to be left alone by your grandmother on the top deck of a double decker.
To be fair, she had like 12 grandchildren with her.
And what changed in adolescence that wasn't so happy?
Oh, adolescence. I met boys. Ugh.
Not recommend.
Yeah. No. Figure it out when you're like 21.
Yeah.
I went on my first date or whatever, my first fling when I was like 16 as a birthday gift to myself.
With a boy who was also 16?
No, he was like 20.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew that was what you were going to say.
He was so much older than me.
Why were we like...
I was on MySpace.
Desecrated by adult men at 16.
I had daddy issues though. So
right.
Yeah. I had a lot of daddy issues. I only figured that out like 5 years ago.
So when your mother came to the UK and you were joined by this family, you had this happy childhood, where was your dad at that time?
Nowhere to be found. I have no idea. I think I spoke to that man once in my life and I've seen like one picture of him. You have these thoughts, do you think of me or these kind of things?
Yeah.
I had a father figure that wasn't really a father figure. He was just my sister's father.
Okay.
But he was... I guess he did the best he could.
That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, right.
Very restrained for the Bake Off villain.
Exactly.
Well, men, as we know, can be very problematic.
Yeah.
So dating was a difficult time for you. Was there any homophobia in your family, being from a different culture? Yeah.
Big time. Like in my family, in school. I mean, in school, people would call me gay or whatever before I even knew I was, which is interesting because I've never been so flamboyant or I've never had any gay attributes that you would kind of figure it out or whatever, but I guess they did. Well, do you know what it is? I didn't want to play football. I wanted to do trampolining.
It's pretty good.
Because I think it's more fun.
Way more fun.
Who wants to kick a ball when you can just jump for an hour?
Yeah. It's a shame for a creative, especially a neurodivergent creative, during adolescence. The best thing that you can be is ordinary. You just want to be invisible. That is the safest thing to be in a high school institution, pretty much anywhere. And your specialness is punished.
Yeah.
So whether they were noticing that you were a bit insular, creative, you want to do the trampoline rather than the football, the word I think that they had to articulate that at the time was gay.
Which is like totally, I mean, I have no like bad feelings towards anyone from school because it's just like, that's what you knew.
You should. Okay. What I'm learning about you, Sandro, is you need more bad feelings towards people.
Bad feelings.
It's okay to have bad feelings about abandonment. And a lot of us have dealt with and had and seen deadbeat dads in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's very complex. Then when you lose them and there's no closure, not all of us have escaped war with our mother and sister. That's something to have anger about if you want. And then also these kids who are doing God knows what now.
Not
just
much.
parading around as deadbeat dads themselves.
This is why I don't have anger to them, because it's just like, I'm not out here
Yeah.
trying to sell my mixtape. I'm just continue to work on my craft and continue to be myself and not let those things really shame me, really. Like, I think it's about how you take those things, and someone can say anything. It's whether you believe it or not,
You're right.
And I don't believe half the stuff people say because I know exactly who I am.
So you have a beautiful soul. You've risen above a lot of this.
Yeah.
However, I would like your memoir to be called Sandro Farmhouse.
Getting my lick back.
Not out here trying to sell my mixtape. Parentheses, getting my lick back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So adolescence was hard with the dating. But then you met your beautiful partner, who's presumably a really nice person.
Yeah.
How did you No. Just a current
No, do you know what it is? I've
situationship.
always been in relationships, and I always went with someone that is like has some sort of, or I gave some sort of authority to. Like my first boyfriend ripped my earring out of my ear because he didn't want me to have an earring at all, and I was like, "Oh, this is like normal. This is fine."
Okay.
Yeah, so I went through kind of like different abusive situations, and then I met my husband, which is he's completely different, but he also does have that same. Outside of the abuse, he still has that sort of authoritative nature about him.
A daddy energy.
A daddy energy, which I still needed when I met him.
Yeah.
But as of time, what the show has done for me was gave me the confidence to really shine and have financial freedom and have all of these things that make me become more independent. And then after the show, what's changed in my marriage is I no longer need someone telling me what to do or how to do, or who to be or how to be or anything like that. So
it is difficult, I think, in a partnership, especially a long-term partnership, when something really shifts like that. The dynamic shifts. It can be emasculating for a certain kind of man. It can also just be something that he has to work through in his own way. But power structures are very delicate sometimes.
We're just figuring things out. I'm figuring myself out. I think it's the most important thing. What I've realized is with love and all of that stuff, it's not too. I don't believe that nothing really like that is forever. I think connections is important, and meeting different people, you learn about yourself. And every person, yes, they've been kind of disastrous, but I've got something from each person. They've helped me become who I am today. And I think that's what it is. That's what life is. You just meet different people and you build a connection, and then you let the connection go.
Yeah.
At some point.
And we have explored on this podcast before that sometimes being in the wrong relationship, or maybe the right relationship during the wrong period and needing to step away. Sometimes the wrong influences in your life can make you older, can make you uglier, because conflict and stress will raise your cortisol, and we don't want that.
No, not at all.
Where would you say your happiness then is on a scale of 1 to 10 right now, taking this test? Because it will impact the results.
I would say my happiness has been at a 5 lately. I would say the good thing, the bad thing about getting such a high from being on something like the Great British Bake Off and everyone loving you and all that stuff. It's just that the high does come down at some point. And no one teaches you how to be in this industry, and no one teaches you how to deal with the lows in this industry neither. And no, you know, I got thrown into work. Like I was everywhere. I mean, you still see me in quite a lot of places, and I don't say no to a lot of things as well. So end up burning myself out, and you know, you wait for the next opportunity to come, and that don't come, and it's just kind of like, oh, you start to feel a little bit low. But hey,
it does ebb and flow. You do have to get used to that. But if you have the work ethic that you have, it does always come back, and the talent that you have. So what are you doing to look after yourself then? Presumably you eat well, you're in the gym.
Yes.
You look like it.
I mean, I do eat well, and generally I do go to the gym. It's been like a good month or so that I've been like comfort eating. And then obviously I'm always baking, and it's just so annoying because I've got all of these cookies.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what am I supposed to do with these cookies other than just stuff myself?
Do you get high in your own supply?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not good. I don't think I'd have been the best, you know.
Brazilian drug lord.
I don't think so. Nice.
Do you take any supplements?
I've started taking mushroom supplements.
Oh, like
so I heard it's good for
microdosing?
I can't remember what they're called. I just take them.
Lion Man.
Yeah, one of them is Lion Man. And
you don't know what they do, and you don't know what they're for.
No, everyone just told me just like, you got ADHD, take these, calm you down. But I'm like, I'm super calm now.
That is good for the biological age.
Yeah, but I miss my ADHD energy.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Oh, so it's working too well, the lion's mane.
Yeah, it's working too well. I'm too chilled.
And it's a kind of mushroom.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Although I had some wine yesterday for the first time in a long time, and that was great. So I might just substitute a little bit.
You going to start
from the mushrooms to the wine.
Drinking. Okay. It's not really the initiative that a lot of people walk away with.
You know,
this.
I felt a bit more alive yesterday.
Okay. So you're at an interesting point where you're still looking after yourself. You're working out. You do eat well. There are cookies around, but we're taking lion mane.
Yes.
And drinking a bit.
A bit of rosé. Why not?
I think you can be afforded this time, because what I'm hearing from you, and we'll have to find out what Dr. Nicola Conlon says, is you've had a lot of changes in your life, from changing countries to then really discovering yourself in adolescence, having a string of bad relationships, then a good relationship. And now you're moving forward to your next big career thing. You've got all the talent and all the drive, but it is stressful. Whether the lion's mane is covering up for it or not, that is a lot of imbalance in your heart. And it might show up in the biological test.
Yeah.
So I don't know what your result is, but do you think, is anything that I'm saying ringing true?
Absolutely. I don't let my hair down. I don't really have much balance in that sort of way.
No.
So that's why the wine drinking last night was like, needed it sort of thing.
Do you do any meditating? Yes,
meditating is good. I do meditate, yeah. I need to get back into yoga, but yeah, I do meditate a lot. I'm an overthinker, so I need sometimes moments where I can just stop and just. Also, I used to be like a proper, you know,
party person.
No. I used to be a Zen thinker with a nice green supplement.
Cannabis we're allowed to talk about cannabis now.
We are?
Mm-hmm.
Is it legal here yet?
No. I think it's decriminalized, maybe, but it's not.
They smoke it everywhere. It's annoying.
I'm Canadian.
Yeah.
So it's part of life.
Yeah.
Okay, so cannabis was useful for you in de-stressing.
Yes.
And
I miss it a little bit.
You don't take that now?
No, I stopped. I quit.
Why?
Because I feel like it gave me a bit of psychosis.
Yeah.
You know, it made me feel a little bit like really depressed at some point, because you end up, I'm already someone that likes to spend time on his own. So with that, you only spend more time on your own, and then you don't go out and you don't see friends, and then the walls start closing in even quicker. Everything gets dark.
Sounds like you have really good self-awareness and really good boundaries with it.
No, for sure. Definitely self-aware. Definitely don't want to self-inflict any harm in myself. So I just want to make sure that I do things in moderation. But yeah, so I got some wine in me now, so it's cool. Wine. I found the wine.
I think
that's worse.
Well, in this country.
It is, because it's so cheap.
You see people on the wine.
Exactly.
A little bit of everything, I think, is fine.
Yeah, a little balance.
Okay. Well, are you ready to find out how that's working for you on a
Sure.
biological cellular level?
Okay.
What do you think it's going to be?
I wouldn't be surprised if I was like in my 50s.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if I was pretty young as well.
I think you feel like you're straddling two worlds to me. That it could come out either
I've always
way.
felt like two people anyway. Does that mean I'm like schizophrenic?
No, it means that maybe you're a Gemini masquerading as a Leo.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No.
I'm definitely a Leo
Okay.
with a bit of Gemini in me, maybe.
Since the lion's mane, especially. Well, we don't have an astrologist available today. I wish we did. Because sometimes you have like a Pisces rising. Like, I don't really know what any of it means. I can make some calls to my friend Lou Sanders. But would you settle for a scientist first? Sandra Farmhouse, I'm now joined by Dr. Nicola Conlon. She knows everything about everything.
Okay.
Specifically, science. And she will help us interpret the results of your GlycanAge biological age test. Are you ready?
Yes.
Sandra's thinking it could go either way. Older, younger.
Young, I don't know.
That's
just
better.
youngish.
Sandra, your result is 43 years old.
That's okay.
It's 9 years older than your chronological
I'm all right
age.
with that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
At least I'm not like 80.
Well, in your current situation that you've described to me,
Yeah.
I think there is some change, some stress. Nicola, what do you think?
So this is looking at like how old you are on the inside, so at a cellular level. And this specific test, this GlycanAge test, is actually looking at levels of inflammation. And although we give it as a number, like an age, it's sort of like behind the scenes, what we look at is different biomarkers that make up this result. And you actually had a really interesting one, because sometimes people's result comes back a little bit high and we're not really sure what it is. But for yours, something really stood out, and I wanted to ask you.
She never says this. She never says this. I don't even know what it is.
I wanted to ask you about exercise.
Okay.
And how much you do. Is it because the reason I'm asking is the specific sort of pattern that we saw is something that we usually see in men, where they just over exercise or don't have enough rest. So do quite intense exercise and kind of like hitting the gym all the time, and maybe even when they're thinking, oh, I can't be bothered to go and I really shouldn't be going, go anyway. Does that sound?
So when I exercise like 3 times a day, and I'll do it consistently for weeks and weeks and weeks. So,
okay. So okay. Well, there you go.
3 times a day.
Yeah, but do you know what? I really like having abs. Right?
I like you having them too.
You know, it's so nice.
Yeah.
And I can like, you know, I was talking to my management today. I was like, I could have my top, like, you know, I feel more comfortable. I don't have them now. I had them in June and we're in August and I don't have them. So I'm back to my 3 times a day today.
Okay.
We got to get you out of this building with the concierge and the gym.
I know.
But that probably is. So the good news is that even when your biological age is slightly higher, you can completely reverse it. And I think in your case, I'm willing to bet that if you just be a little bit more, maybe not 3 times a day, or a little bit more sensible, give your body just that little bit more rest, which is probably what it's asking for. Because you also mentioned that you don't, I think you used the words, you don't have that much balance sometimes. It's kind of like all in. And again, in these circumstances, sometimes we see it go up a little bit, but again, within months, it can be completely reversed, even younger. So maybe it's just like a little signal to say, listen to your body. And if your body's like, maybe not 3 times a day today, then yeah.
But I've seen the abs. Would you trade 9 years of your life for those abs?
Yeah.
I think
I want more abs.
Fair enough.
Abs are great.
More abs. What biological markers were good then? Because you said this stood out, but what else does it show?
Yeah, no, everything else was actually really good. So there's different markers that show like levels of protection. Again, that can be genetic, that can be inherited. And we do see some markers that like show resilience. So
Very
literally
resilient.
in yours, the only one that came back, which is what's pushing it up slightly, was one that we do see if your body's under a little bit too much pressure, usually from something like exercise. But
So the
everything
war was
else-
fine. The homophobia was fine.
Yeah,
The becoming famous overnight, fine.
I'm resilient.
The breakup, fine.
The exercise, not so much.
Yeah.
It's the abs.
It's like a double-edged sword exercise, and we have seen this in some of the other guests where
That's true.
too little, not great; too much, also not great. It's like that balance in the middle.
Okay, that's
Um,
interesting.
Yeah.
What do you think of lion's mane?
Oh, great.
We don't know what it is.
Yeah. So lion's mane. I mean, I'm a huge fan of different types of mushrooms and all the research, all the natural molecules that are found in them that are so potent and so good for the body. Lion's mane in particular, very good for your nervous system, for the brain. We know it crosses into the brain, gets through the blood-brain barrier. Not everything can do that. It can help increase the neurons in the brain. It's like for neuronal health. So yeah, there is some research now looking at that in neurodiversity, and it's some really promising
Are there
studies.
good
So
lion's mane supplements and bad ones?
with things to do with mushrooms, it's all about how they're extracted. And, as mushrooms, I think, again, like one of those things that I kind of have in the moment. And you see in mushroom everything pop up, coffees and gummies and this
Yeah.
and that. And, you've got to be careful, as with any supplements, like where is it coming from? Does it actually really have any of this lion's mane in it? Or is it just a marketing thing? But there are better brands than others.
Is that a name of a
Definitely.
mushroom, lion's mane?
Yeah, lion's mane
It's
is
actual
because it
mushroom,
looks like a
okay.
lion's mane.
Oh.
What is the
Literally.
mane? What is the mane?
Like on
Oh,
yeah, like
okay,
it's like
nice.
obviously a mushroom
I
typically.
hate mushrooms though.
Right,
Ugh.
yeah. Well, this one it grows
Yeah.
and it looks like a mane, which is why they call it lion's mane.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds so chilled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're very chilled. How many did you have today?
Like I've overdosed.
3.
No, I think I have to take one every few hours, but I have one with other mushroom supplements.
Okay.
Yeah, can't remember the other two. What the name was, but
And where do you stand on cannabis, Nicola Conlon, mother of one?
Again, this is one of the things that we've done a lot of research into, all the different molecules found in cannabis, some great, some not so great. There's a huge amount of molecules that are found naturally in plants that have been kind of categorized as something that is illegal or dangerous, cannabis, mushrooms, that actually have some really good research behind them to show they can be beneficial in certain conditions and certain circumstances.
do you think it's about how you use it rather than what it is? Because obviously it is like cannabis treatments,
Yeah.
and stuff like pills and teas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But obviously the
absolutely.
smoking is a whole different thing because you're inhaling it into.
This is the problem. This is the problem with the smoking side of it. We know that any form of smoking is bad.
Yeah.
Definitely not good for the biological age. So yeah.
Okay.
What about people who separate the CBD from the THC and they just take
That
CBD
is-
supplements? No good?
CBD is so boring. I used to do it a lot when I was in Nice.
Okay.
Anyway,
Just do
I
it.
wanted to do something on Bake Off that had like CBD element to it, but they were like,
Yeah.
no, we're not allowed to do that.
Oh, really?
Fine.
I also wanted to do like a chocolate cake with goat's cheese and red wine, which tastes amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But they were like, no, it's too explorative. But then someone made sweet corn cakes. I'm just like,
That sounds amazing. I would definitely try that.
Well, how do you feel about this result then? Because I
I feel
suppose
good about it actually.
it seems like bad news to be 9 years older than your chronological age. But if it's for the good of the abs,
I mean, I've watched your show.
yeah.
I've watched the show and I'm like, that is not the worst. There's people that like work out, are athletes, and they're like, twice their age. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's funny with elite athletics, isn't it?
Mm.
Is that I would not have predicted going into What's My Age Again that all of our athletes come back not getting enough recovery, and that really does impact part of the test.
Yeah.
So
There's
What's
been some surprising results. And I think when I heard you were on, I was really interested to look at, so one of the markers is like more lifestyle, and that's an indication of diet. And I thought maybe with you being a baker, like you said earlier, like, and I remember when I would bake with my mom, it's like you have to test it every 5 minutes and you have to like have the samples. And we know when it comes to sugar is pretty bad for driving the inflammation that increases biological age. And especially when it's sweet treats. If you are having like lots of little amounts of sugar throughout the day, we know that's way worse than just having like a massive slice of chocolate cake after a meal.
Is it?
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So because every time
That's
you have
my 9 years.
Okay, maybe, but that's not what it showed, but it could be. So that's something to be wary of as well, because every
Okay.
time you have a little bit of sugar, it sets your body off on like this little glucose roller coaster. So your body has to try and, because sugar is inflammatory, so it has to try and get it out of the blood. So this is why they say if you're going to eat something like really naughty, like have like a big cookie or a slice of cake or whatever, do it after a meal, especially if you've had some protein, and then it just flattens it off.
And have it all at once.
Yeah.
That's really cool advice, actually.
That is cool advice.
So go to the gym.
I'm on a
have
no
the
sugar free.
protein, have
I'm
the
on a
cake.
sugar-free diet right now for the next until I get my abs back.
What's
So,
next for the abs?
What's next for the abs?
Yeah.
Lots of working out. I just need them abs back. I just think, you know what? I see these people baking and stuff on Instagram, and I'm like, some of them. I don't know if you know this guy that he does this dancing. He's Canadian.
Oh.
No, he's Australian.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Same thing.
But no,
Commonwealth.
he does this dancing thing and singing. And he has abs and he bakes, and it's really cool. And I just think, do you know what? That's all I'm missing right now.
You want to take
Just
your
abs
social
for the
media
net.
to the next
I
level.
would love to adultify it a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shake Off, the family-friendly bake-off.
Oh, please. I want to
Sandro.
shake that off. I want to be on like Magic Mike in like a year. Yeah. I'm being so serious. I'm training for it right now.
Good.
Yeah.
I love Magic Mike. It's a great show.
Why not? That'll be my next step. That'll be my step into Strictly, hopefully.
Thanks to Sandro Farmhouse, our guest on What's My Age Again. And thank you, Sandro, for bringing the cake, gluten-free. Please follow and subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch your podcasts, and check out our socials. If you've got a question for Nicola about biological age, send her a message, or you can email us on whatsmyageagainpod@bauermedia.co.uk.